So this video is going to be about, this is going to be a very useful video for those people who don't seem to have any time for any of the yogic practices. Uh, it is a bit unfortunate that there are some people who can't even find half an hour's time for their body and the mind. But if that is the case, then this video is going to be extremely useful because I'll be talking about two practices, or rather, two really good habits that you can get into, uh, which will help you keep your body healthy even if you don't have any time for any of the yogic practices. So basically, in yoga, uh, it is the health of the spine that matters a lot. There is a lot of focus on keeping the health of the spine uh, perfect in yoga because of the fact that the spine is considered to be one of the most important things when it comes to human health. In fact, most of the chronic ailments that most people suffer from is due to poor posture, poor uh, health of the spinal column, the muscles that surround the spinal column. So how do you make sure that the health of the spinal column remains perfect even if you don't do any physical activities? So now, whenever we talk about correct posture, we usually ask people to straighten their lower back. We always ask people to keep their back straight. But then the thing is, if it were that easy to keep their lower back straight all the time, then everybody would have had a perfect posture. Nobody would have had any back issues or spinal column related issues. And one of the reasons why yoga focuses so much on the spine is because of evolution. The spine is what separates us from the rest of the animals of the animal kingdom. I will be making a separate video uh, on yoga and evolution because there is obviously a connection between the evolution of man and the development of yoga as a science, but that is for a different video. In this video, I will be talking about these two habits that you can develop, very simple things that you have to do as and when you're doing your day-to-day activities that can actually help improve not just the health of your spine but the overall health of your body. But before I talk about these two habits, let me first talk a little bit about the difference between uh, us human beings and the other animals, the four-legged animals. Now, whenever we talk about, whenever we look at the animals that walk on four legs, you will notice that in order to look in front, they have to extend the head, right? So basically, the muscles of the neck that help in the extension of the head. Like if you are a four-legged animal, you would basically have to straighten the head. You have to extend the head, extend the neck to look in front, right? But so basically, there is a lot of use for the extension of the head if you were a four-legged animal. But for human beings, because we walk straight, we walk on two legs, so it is more useful if there is less like instead of having hyperactive neck extensors, it would be nice if the muscles of the cervical region of the neck, in front of the neck, the muscles in front of the neck, if they were strong and active, that would be more beneficial for the humanoid design. So for us human beings, it is more beneficial if the front, the neck flexors, or the muscles at the front of the neck, they are as active as the muscles at the back of the neck, which are the neck extensors. But normally, what happens is uh, the neck extensors are hyperactive, and the neck flexors, or the muscles at the front of the neck, they are very weak and lengthened. So what that does is it actually creates this forward chin posture, wherein the chin is basically sticking out like this because of hyperactive neck extensors. Chin sticks out like this, and that kind of makes the shoulders rounded. It also leads to rounding of shoulders, partially due to the tightening of the chest muscles, and that in turn leads to the hunched back posture. That means it accentuates the kyphosis, natural kyphosis of the thoracic spine. This is the natural backward curve of the thoracic spine that gets accentuated, gets increased, like the forward slump or the hunched back position. That is what happens with the rounded shoulders and the chin sticking out like this. This is a very, very bad posture. This is what causes a lot of problems, including breathing problems and back problems. But this is mainly happening because of the fact that the neck extensors, the muscles at the back of the neck, they are really hyperactive. And now this happens mainly because there are so many muscles that help with neck extension. There is, apart from the upper trapezius muscles, there is the splenius capitis, the splenius cervicus, the semispinalis capitis, and then there is the deep neck flexors, which are the semispinalis cervicus and the multifidus. And along with that, there are these muscles known as the suboccipital muscles, which are below the occipital bone over here. They help with the extension of the head. All these muscles contribute to the extension of the head. And when these muscles become too tight, they become hyperactive. So that leads to the forward chin posture, which kind of makes you look like an ape. This also happens because of people training poorly in the gym. They work out their traps properly because they want to look good. So they follow poor training methods, and they try to strengthen their traps without making sure that the rest of the body is strong, and that kind of makes those neck extensors really hyperactive. In fact, if you see this hyperactivation of the neck extensors, not only does it lead to poor forward chin posture, it will also over a period of time, because of hyperactivity leads to hypertrophy, right? So you'll see, as and when the person ages, you'll see that the back of the head and the back of the neck starts increasing in size. So usually you'll find this happening once the person crosses the middle age mark. Somehow when they during the teenage years and the early to mid 20s, everything is fine. The body looks very young and healthy. But slowly, as the person reaches middle age, crosses 30, and then starts aging, you will see that the muscles of the back of the neck and the back of the head starts increasing, giving the person a very bad aged look. And this has got very little to do with time or age. It has got a lot to do with this poor posture. So it's not just about the aesthetics. It's not just about looking young. It's also about the posture and how it affects the health overall. So this poor, like I said, this poor forward chin posture due to the hyperactivity of the neck extensors is also causing the rounding of the shoulders and the hunched back posture, wherein the upper back is getting hunched too much, and that is really bad for health. It affects your breathing. It causes a lot of problems. It causes constipation, and it basically ultimately it will lead to a serious cervical spine as well as overall spine issues, and you need to avoid that. And that is the reason why I have made this video, because like I said, there are so many muscles at the back of the neck, and then the muscles that are in front of the neck are usually ignored, especially when you're specifically training your body. These are the muscles that are not given a lot of importance, and that is the reason why I made this video, so that people, especially youngsters who are trying to get fit, trying to become healthier, they should not follow any training blindly and then mess up their body like that, because it messes up the spine. And in order to make sure that the spine is properly balanced, and you basically have to work on the muscles at the front of the neck as well. And now when you consider the neck flexors or the muscles at the front of the neck, there's the sternocleidomastoid muscle, which is the most superficial muscle of the neck. Basically, you can touch it, you can feel it, and you can see it also. This basically connects to the sternum and the clavicle bone. Then there is the scalene muscles, and then there are deep neck flexors called I guess it's called longus colli and the longus capitis. these muscles are helping in stabilizing the head, and it is also helping in flexing the neck and the head. So these are the neck flexor muscles that are often ignored, and we need to make sure that those muscles are equally active. In fact, like I said, for the human beings, it's more important to have those neck flexors really active and strong, because we need to look in front. We don't want that neck extension that is there in the four-legged animals. We don't have to extend the neck too much. We just need to keep it straight. So for that, you need to balance out the muscles of the neck properly. So basically, what we need to do over here is we need to get into the habit of activating those muscles at the front of the neck. So how do we do that? So firstly, let me talk about, like, even if you look at some of the top athletes in the world of sports, especially the sports where you require the generation of a lot of upper body power. Basically, sports where, like, really physical sports like boxing or wrestling, or even something like tennis or sprinting, where you require a lot of power in the upper body. You will see most of the top athletes uh, in those sports. You'll see that they will have, some of them may or may not have really big trapezius muscles, but they will definitely have a really firm and thick. You just check out any of the top athletes in the field of sports. They will have really thick and strong front of the neck as compared to the back of the neck. And that actually plays a very crucial role in being in generating a lot of explosive upper body power. So that again shows how important it is to ensure that the muscles of the front of the neck are kept as active, as strong as the back of the neck. So here are two practices that you can try out. So the first practice that you need to do, or rather the first habit that you need to get into, is basically taking curling the tongue behind and upwards towards the roof of the mouth. It is an ancient yogic practice known as Khechari Mudra. Now, if I go into the details of what is written about Khechari Mudra, it will sound very exaggerated, because they say Khechari Mudra, it is like tasting the nectar of, that's what is written in the yogic text. It's like tasting the nectar of immortality. But of course, that is a bit exaggerated. What it actually does is, what you're actually doing in Khechari Mudra is you're basically curling the tongue. The tongue, you're curling it inwards and upwards towards the roof of the mouth, so that the tip of the tongue, it touches the soft palate. Now, initially, if your tongue is not flexible enough, it will either touch the hard palate or the soft palate. Now, in my case, it goes beyond, it touches the uvula, which is the soft extension of the soft palate, which hangs over the throat. So it touches the uvula and it goes beyond it, slightly beyond it. There are practitioners who can even push the tongue further upwards towards the nasopharynx. But of course, that is something that happens with practice. But initially, what you can do for Khechari Mudra is just curl your tongue upwards and behind towards the soft palate, and then press it against the soft palate. Now, what that does is it activates some other muscles in the front of the neck. Now, the tongue is supported by a bone known as the hyoid bone. So over here, the hyoid bone is what supports the tongue, and it is also attached to certain muscles in front of the neck. Muscles like the sternohyoid muscle, omohyoid muscle, as well as the thyrohyoid muscle, as well as the sternothyroid muscle. These are together known as the infrahyoid muscles. Infra meaning below, they're below the hyoid bone. So these muscles, which are in front of the neck, they get activated when you actually press and push the tongue upwards and behind against the roof of the mouth. So this Khechari mudra, it activates those muscles in front of the infrahyoid muscles in front of the neck. In fact, you can try this right now and check it out for yourself when you do that. You just push the tongue upwards and behind against the roof of the mouth like this. It's the curling of the tongue and pressing the tip of the tongue against the roof of the mouth. And then you keep the mouth closed. You'll see some inner muscles of the neck will get activated. Now this in turn will really strengthen. This is normally a practice that is done when the person is sitting in meditation or doing some sort of pranayama, yogic breathing practices. But this is something that you can do, and it's also done. It can be done when you're doing your yoga asanas that will strengthen the muscles in front of the neck. Even though the infrahyoid muscles are not included in the neck flexors, but they are a part of the front of the neck, and they need to be strong and tight. So this habit rather, would keep those muscles in front of the neck really tight and firm. This can be done during asanas as well. And like I said, it's done during meditation and certain breathing practices. But you can do this. You can do this normally also. Like when you're doing your day-to-day activities, you don't have to you don't need separate time for doing this. Whenever you're doing your daily routine, your day-to-day activities, you can just roll the tongue up and against. The only thing is you basically need to follow a very light, healthy diet whenever you're practicing Khechari mudra. Now, when I say light, healthy diet, I mean vegetarian diet, because the thing is, this kind of stimulates the autonomic nervous system, and basically the autonomic nervous current which stimulates the upper glands are the same. It's the same current, autonomic nervous current, that stimulates the digestive organs for digesting the food. So if you practice this Khechari mudra during those days when you're having some sort of unhealthy heavy meals, then you may develop problems like constipation, or you may develop a severe headache. So to avoid that, just make sure that whenever you're practicing the Khechari mudra, which is also known as a tongue lock, you're doing that with a light meal, a light vegetarian meal. On the days when you take a heavy meal, do not practice this. Now, apart from Khechari mudra, the other practice that you can do is the partial Jalandhar Bandh. Jalandhar Bandh is basically the chin lock. It's again a practice done during certain yogic breathing practices, during pranayama. But you can do this, the full complete Jalandhar Bandh is basically chin lock, wherein you press the chin, tuck the chin behind and bring it to the jugular notch over here. Of course, you don't have to do the entire Jalandhar Bandh, just partial Jalandhar Bandh, wherein you're simply tucking the chin behind like this. So that will activate the deep neck flexors, and it will also activate the superficial neck flexors, which are the sternocleidomastoid muscles, as well as the scalene. Okay. So just tucking the chin behind like this, and then this is the partial chin lock, and then the tongue lock, which is the Khechari mudra. Do both these things together, and with that position of the tongue and chin in place, you can do your daily activities, your day-to-day activities without any problem. The only thing is, you basically, whenever you're not using your tongue for eating or speaking, you can basically do this, the rolling of the tongue up and behind, pressing it against the roof of the mouth, and then tucking the chin behind like this. That will keep the muscles of the neck, the front muscles, the muscles of the neck at the front, really firm and tight. And when you do your daily activities, even things like lifting heavy weights, you can actually do this practice, this tongue lock and the chin lock. That will in fact further strengthen the neck muscles at the front. So these are the two practices, or rather two habits, that you can get into to ensure that the posture. What this will do is this will ensure that the chin, like when you do this chin lock and the tongue lock, it will ensure that the neck muscles are in proper position. Then inevitably you would, in order to look in front, you would ensure that the thoracic spine is also straight, and then the lumbar spine is also straight. Instead of keeping the back straight, you're just ensuring that you're keeping the muscles in front of the neck tight. These two ancient yogic practices, if you just make it a habit to do this, as in when you're doing your daily activities, it will ensure that the entire spine is straight. Now, apart from this, what the other thing that you can do is you can actually do this at night also when you're sleeping. In fact, I would suggest that you should never use a pillow when you sleep, and you should lie down on your back. Whenever you're sleeping, you should lie down on your back. Just make sure that you push the chin behind like that, the way I told you before, and then the tongue is in place, pushing it against the roof of the mouth. And also just try to press the back of the neck against the bed with the hands by the side of the body, with the palms facing the sky. Just keep the position of the head and the neck like that, and just try to keep your eyes closed. And the other important thing that you need to do is abdominal breathing. So whenever you are doing this, even normally when you are doing your daily activities, it is important to do this with abdominal breathing, because the neck flexors, like the sternocleidomastoid as well as scalene muscles, they also work as accessory muscles of inspiration. That means they help, those muscles help in elevating the rib. I think if I'm not wrong, the scalene muscles are attached to the first and the second rib. So when you keep the head still, and when you when you breathe in, when you inhale completely, proper abdominal breathing, it will help in elevating the ribs, the thoracic region. So they work as accessory muscles of inspiration. So that will further activate those neck flexor muscles, which is very important for the overall health of your cervical spine, as well as the overall health of the muscles of the neck. So just do these two things, like as in when you're doing your daily activities, and also when you're sleeping at night. Just do these two things. Just get into a habit of doing these two things, the Khechari Mudra and the Jalante Bandh, and you will see a tremendous change in not just your posture. Posture will obviously become perfect, but furthermore, it will help you avoid the hyperactivity of the neck extensor muscles, because they are getting lengthened when you're actually doing this. The neck extensor muscles, they are getting lengthened, so that will prevent the activation of the neck extensors. So it will completely prevent the forward chin posture, as well as the other problems associated with it. So this will help in not just improving the health of your spine, it will also help you become healthier overall. So hope this video was useful, especially for those people. Of course, this can be done even during your yoga asana practice and other yogic exercises, but this is especially useful for those people who don't even have a little bit of time for yoga. If you just get into these two habits, you'll see a tremendous change in your health. The only word of caution over here is, whenever you're practicing the Khechari Mudra, make sure that you eat a light vegetarian diet. On the days when you eat a heavy, unhealthy meal, just do not practice the Khechari Mudra. So that's it. Thanks for watching.